Hey y'all, welcome to episode 12 of Create This Book 3 by Mariah Elizabeth and Ashleigh Monet. That would be me. I know I could have fooled you guys with this pink, am I right? Basically, this means I'm completely over the blonde. I am sick of touching up my roots and I am ready to go back to black. But I'm gonna make use of the bleach I did. I didn't do it for nothing. So I'm gonna do a run through of a bunch of fun colors before I go back to black, starting with the pink. I don't know, how are we feeling about this? I like it, but I've got to say, it's still really jarring when I see myself in the mirror. Pink! Like, I love pink on everybody else, but on me, for whatever reason, it feels super juvenile. No, maybe it's my mental block. Not important. In other news, votes have been cast in the poll of how should we celebrate reaching 3K subscribers? And drawing things my subscribers suggest has edged out creepifying my subscriber art. I mean, don't get me wrong, it definitely was not like a shutout victory. Creepifying subscriber art was still pretty high up there. So maybe next milestone, we'll do that one. I want to give you guys what you want. But this time, we're doing suggestions. So go ahead and comment your suggestion down below for what you want me to draw. Anything at all, sky is the limit. Animals, food, creepy things, you name it. Also feel free to scan the comments, and if somebody else has commented something that you like as an idea, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and then I know multiple people want to see that. Now bear in mind with your suggestions, the more complicated they are, the fewer drawings I'm going to be able to do. If you suggest something straightforward like a panda, that's pretty easy. I can do quite a few pandas in one episode. But if you want something wild like the blood-sucking panda eating an ice cream popping out of a dumpster, that is very complex. I don't know why I just thought of that, of all things. But that's complicated, and I would only be able to do a couple of drawings in that episode. So choose wisely. That being said, I cannot wait to see what you guys come up with. I want to thank you all so much for subscribing to my channel. I'm telling you honestly, the subscriptions, the views, the sweet comments down below, like those things are what make this worth doing. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, but enough of me talking. Oh, we have 4 prompts to tackle this week. Let's jump right in and see what I can create. Starting the week off with create an emoji story. Create a story using only emojis. For this prompt, I'm going to tell an origin story only using emojis, and I want to see if you can guess what it is. The emojis I picked were the male scientist, the bomb, an explosion, the radioactive symbol, the angry emoji, the color green, a buff bicep, and a superhero. What could it be? I feel like this is a gimme, but it's always more obvious when you already know the answer. If you guessed the Incredible Hulk, you would be correct. Because Bruce Banner was a scientist creating a gamma bomb, but through the bomb exploding, he was exposed to gamma radiation, which made it so whenever he got angry, he would transform into a green, super strong Hulk who later goes on to become a superhero. So for this page, I'm just gonna do a little comic style illustration of the Hulk origin. Now, I'm not huge into comics, but I can appreciate them, and I've always had an affinity for the Hulk. Like, he is my favorite superhero. I started with a basic fine line illustration, and then went through with some watercolor to add all of that amazing Hulk green. Fun fact, when the Hulk was first created, he wasn't even green at all. He was actually gray. But I guess that gray color wouldn't print consistently, so they ended up changing it to green, which is an excellent choice in my humble opinion. Okay, now that I have my base colors painted, I need to do a few blocks of bold black, as is common with that comic book style. Now, to really sell the comic vibe, I had to do a ton of fine line hatching. Guys, it took me forever, but with some editing magic, we can knock this out just like that. Looking good. Now, I really wanted to emphasize the gamma rays from this blast, so I used a couple of my paint pens in neon green and neon yellow to make these glowing beams. It's like Bruce is at a rave. A couple of juicy highlights, and this one was done. Let's get it glued in the book. Love it. Now on this side, let's go ahead and add in our emojis. And on this one, I did want to go ahead and fancy up the prompt a little bit, just by coloring in those little emojis. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Well, here is my Hulk spread in all of its glory. I actually am a big fan of this page. It was tricky finding a story that I felt I could tell using only emojis, but I think this one worked so well. I love the illustration. I'm just happy with it all around. Okay, let's carry on to the next. Create holes. Tear or cut a few holes in this page to make it look fun and interesting. So my inspiration for this page was, wait for it, Holes. And by that I mean Holes, the movie. Great movie, highly recommend. Probably the best film adaptation of a book I've ever seen. And I remember when I saw Disney was gonna make it, I was like, oh, huh? Disney? So what, they're just gonna eliminate the racism, lynch mob, and bandit killings? Nay, they kept all that in, and I was shooketh. No, they went there. Good for them. So for this page, I wanted to kind of replicate that aerial view of all the holes that have been dug in the dirt. On the left side, I painted the holes themselves black, but on the right side, I actually got to obey the prompt and cut them all out with my X-Acto. Now, in order to make the holes look right so you don't see that page behind, I had to glue some black paper to the back of the page. But now you know I'd never leave it that simple, so let's add some characters. I chose to draw up Stanley, Zero, and the Warden, of course. She's my favorite. Y'all know I'm always going to gravitate toward the villain. In a perfect world, I would have loved to draw all of the characters. Like, they had so many fun and interesting characters just at the camp alone. But space is so limited in this book, I had to be selective. So I figured these are probably like the 3 most crucial characters to the story. I also chose to do them in a little bit of a more fun, kind of cartoony style. I feel like that suits the story well. And then, as my new process seems to go, I fine-lined the drawings, colored them in using alcohol markers on this one, and then went back through making some of the lines more bold and adding lots of the details. Did a little bit of back and forth here, adding some juicy highlights, but then toning them down with a little color. And once I was happy with the characters and how they looked, I was able to cut them out and add them into the book. Let's put Stanley and Zero on this side. And the Warden, she can go over here. And that's that for this page. I love it, and now I'm gonna go watch that movie again. I know I usually give a synopsis of the movie or show or whatever inspires me, but this one is just too complex. See it or read it, you just gotta. Now moving forward, we have Create Gold. Draw golden objects of all shapes and sizes. So I already had this black paper background in place to fill the holes on the last prompt. So here's my thought. We've got a black background. We need various size gold objects. Let's do a gallery wall. Sort of inspired by my gallery wall, but hopefully we can make it even better. I planned to use a gold paint pen for the gold in this piece, but this paper was just soaking it up and leaving behind just like a little bit of shimmer. It looked weak. No, that simply will not do. I switched over to my trusty folk art gold acrylic and a brush. This process suddenly becomes slow and steady, but you know what? It's worth it. I just love this paint. It's so shiny and nice. Every time I use it, I swear it brings out my inner gold member. I love gold. I did have to include a few Easter eggs from the Ashleigh Monet gallery wall. My drippy clock that I made, of course. My little tea set. I just love those. Those are my favorites and they simply must stay. But from there, I pretty much did my own thing, adding a lot of fun, ornate frames of all shapes and sizes. I added some miscellaneous decor too, like plant pots, vases, a candelabra, all of them gold. Now, some of these frames are going to have black backgrounds, so no need to alter them, but some are going to have white backgrounds, so I need to fill them in with the white. Ugh, you can see that paper just soaking up that Posca. I ended up having to do like 3 coats to get a nice opaque white. Next, I went through with a bit of an off-white ivory for some candles and this fun little decorative skull, which I gave a cute little gold tooth. And we can't just have this stuff floating, so I need to add in a couple of shelves. And now I can start painting in some of this artwork. I did a little celestial piece with the phases of the moon. Under that, a piece with different types of teeth, a cuspid, molar, and an incisor. If you're new here, I have a weird obsession with teeth. I used to work in the dental industry, so that's where it started. This one is going to be a pinned scorpion. And maybe a little snake over here, like maybe the skeleton. I want this one to just be a cute classic ghost painting. And this is just going to be a nice little floral piece. Over here, I thought it would be fun to do a simple piece paying homage to Phantom of the Opera. And this one is just a hand holding the moon with some dangling little stars. Time to add a dash of red for the Phantom's rose, and this piece will look just like blood drips. Love that. Next, I went in with my black fine liner to add details to these smaller white pieces. This one says Bad Witch Energy. Tee-hee-hee-hee. This one is a bunch of butterflies. We've got a kooky little eye on this one, a spider web here, and finishing with a cauldron of bats. Okay, we're on to adding the last few little finishing touches throughout. The big transformation on this one was adding all of that greenery. Y'all, I could never have a gallery wall without an offensive amount of fake plants. You know, when I moved into my current house, we counted and had over 70 fake plants, and we've only accrued more since we've been here. I may have a problem. I went through and added some gold glitter paint pen to all of the gold things, but it didn't make much of an impact. Like, you really only see it when you turn it in the light like this. Shing shang, bling blang. And the last thing this page so desperately needs, it's juicy highlight time. Signed the page and then went on to zhuzh up the prompt with a little more of that gold paint and some colored pencils. Clean up those lines, a little juicy highlight, and this one is done. I like it. It was fun to make, and it certainly got my cogs turning with some ideas for ways to improve my gallery wall at home. I just love gold, and my wall is one of my favorite things in my house to look at. But now we can move on to the last prompt of the week. Create similarity. Draw 2 people or things that are similar, but not exactly the same. So I've received a couple of comments lately that I need to do more witchy content, which totally fair. I love witchy stuff, but for whatever reason, I haven't really done any since spooky season. So this one is for you guys. I'll be making a coven of 4 witches. So while they will all be similarly witches, they won't be the same. And to take it a step further, I got inspiration for this from the scene in 101 Dalmatians where Pongo is low-key roasting all of the dogs that pass by who happen to look just like their owners. Well, each of my witches will have a pet that has their same vibe. All right, I'm going to practice some character creating on this prompt. Bear with me. I'm trying my best. The first witch I'm creating is Serena, the Sage Witch. She is the leader of the coven, the supreme. She is the eldest and the wisest, the most well-read, and the one that the other witches come to for sage advice. Her sidekick animal is a sweet little lop-eared bunny named Athena. When it came time to color Serena, I wanted to give her a light, airy, ethereal vibe. So she wears all white with just a touch of blush pink on her cheeks and in the flowers on her hat. Likewise, her bunny Athena is all white with just the tiniest pink touch to her nose and ears. I did also go back through and give her a few slight wrinkles to show her age. And I want each witch to be holding an item of significance to their personality. Serena's is a spell book. As I said before, she does enjoy a good read and has spent decades absorbing the knowledge of every spell book she can get her hands on. A couple of juicy highlights, and that is Serena, the Sage Witch. Next up is Tilly, the Garden Witch. And if you feel like the drawings look similar, it's because I literally drew a face, then traced it 4 times. And for each witch, made a subtle tweak or two, again, leaning into this prompt that they are all similar, but not exactly the same. Now back to Tilly. What to say about Tilly? Obviously, she has a keen interest in herbology and plant husbandry. She has a most impressive collection of plants and herbs in her greenhouse and backyard garden. Her animal sidekick is a large toad named Chester, and her object is a potted plant. Color-wise for Tilly, I chose to lean into the colors of nature, browns and greens. Similarly, her personality is quite neutral. Things within the coven can get a little turbulent at times, you'll see why soon. When small conflicts arise, Tilly is the type to retreat to her garden and find peace in solitude. In times of extreme conflict, however, she will step in and take that role of peacemaker and go out of her way to restore harmony to the home. Let's hit her with the colorless blender and add a few juicy highlights. And that's Tilly, the garden witch. My third witch is Zelda, the cosmic witch. She is the youngest of the 4 and by far the most impulsive. She's filled with that kind of naive curiosity. You know that expression, head in the clouds? Yeah, that's Zelda. She's always dreaming of the next big thing, looking to the stars and the tarot to see what adventure lies ahead of her. Her animal sidekick is an equally curious little cat named Maisie, and her magical item, a tarot deck, of course. I for sure wanted to have one ginger witch. I have a thing for redheads, and I thought she seemed an ideal fit. And then I could make Maisie a little ginger cat to match. Perfect! Now for her wardrobe, I definitely wanted her draped in tones of blue and purple, you know, cosmic colors. I definitely see Zelda as like the fun one, but I think her sense of adventure definitely gets her into trouble, both inside and outside of the home. Juicy highlights, and that there is Zelda, the cosmic witch. And for our last, and as you may have guessed, one of my favorites, we have Raven, the gothic witch. Raven and Serena are sisters, Raven being the younger of the 2 but separated by less than a year in age. As a result, she grew up always in Serena's shadow and the sibling rivalry was real. Raven enjoys getting a rise out of her white witch sister by dabbling in a bit of black magic from time to time. As you can see, Raven's holding a skull, and her animal sidekick is a sneaky little rat named Rodney. Now, while Serena disapproves of Raven's behavior, she knows that inside Raven has a pure heart and hopes one day she'll find herself. However, there is serious turmoil in the coven when Raven steps into the role of bad influence and ropes in young and impressionable Zelda. What are Raven's motives in all of this? Is it just attention-seeking behavior? Will she one day renounce black magic? Or will we see this story end with Raven leaving the coven to fully embrace the dark side? Ugh, I somehow forgot to do her juicy highlights, so I did them off camera. But yeah, that's Raven, the gothic witch. With her done, this page is done. I just love my little coven of witches. I had so much fun coming up with the characters, and I will have to try to remember from time to time to sprinkle a little witch in my books because they make my heart so happy. Another week down, now let's go ahead and recap. We created an emoji story, telling the origin story of the Incredible Hulk using only emojis and then drawing this comic-style illustration of the gamma explosion that led to his creation. I love the Hulk. I had lots of fun figuring out the emojis. I just love this page. We created holes in every sense of the word. We cut holes in the page, made to look like holes in the dirt, as seen and read about in Holes the book and Holes the movie. I mean, I love this story so much, I don't think there was any way I wasn't gonna like this page, but I really, really, really like it. We created gold, painting this gallery wall chocked full of gold frames and decorative items. I do really like this one too, but I will say it's a little underwhelming to me in comparison to the other prompts I completed this week. Maybe it's because in all the others I got to create something new and interesting, and this is very similar to something I see every day. Not really sure, but still.
It's very pretty.
And lastly, we created similarity, drawing 4 similar yet different witches with their little twinsy animal sidekicks. I had so much fun putting them together, coming up with their stories. I think they all look great, and I hope you guys like the little added witchy content in this one. I had so much fun with the prompts this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Do not forget to comment down below. Give me a suggestion. I'll probably be starting drawing this weekend, so with the quickness, okay? And until next time, goodbye.